Diddy's sons, Justin and Christian Combs, have been linked to sex crimes and Kim Porter's death. Allegedly, they're trying to block the release of their late mother's memoir, which reportedly exposes details about Diddy's alleged involvement in a sex trafficking ring.
He apparently says he owns the rights to a book that was reportedly based on the alleged memoir of Kim Porter. In fact, according to TMZ, Burgess' phone was seized by the feds, and on it was a copy of a flash drive with material that was used in this book. Here's the problem. Christian and Quincy Combs, these are the sons of Diddy and Kim Porter. Quincy's actually adopted by Diddy. But they are reportedly fighting back, and they have sent Burgess a cease and desist letter to prevent the further sale of this book. They argue this is just an attempt to capitalize on Porter's fame and that they own the rights to her IP, her intellectual property, like her diary entries or potential manuscript. As her heirs, they own it. And they also want an accounting of current sales of the book. To be clear though, they aren't acknowledging that there is in fact a long-lost memoir from their mother. In fact, they've actually denied that before when there was a similar book, a derivative work, we'll talk about that, published by this guy named Chris Todd on Amazon. They were adamantly fighting against that. They said that their mother wouldn't write this. But what they're basically saying is if something should exist, then
Grace O'Marcaid, 26, has filed a sexual assault lawsuit against Christian Combs, Diddy's son, alleging he groped and sexually harassed her after drugging her at one of Diddy's yacht parties. According to the lawsuit, Grace was hired to work on the yacht when Christian approached her, offered her a drink, and attempted to kiss her. Despite repeatedly asking him to stop, Christian allegedly became increasingly aggressive, grabbing and twisting her arm when she tried to leave the situation.
Thursday, when attorney Tyrone Blackburn, the man already representing Rodney Jones, filed a civil complaint on behalf of his client, Grace O'Marcaid. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing her last name, but I believe it is O'Marcaid. Grace O'Marcaid in Los Angeles Superior Court, accusing 26-year-old Christian Combs of drugging her and sexually assaulting her in December of 2022 when she was working in a charter boat in St. Martin. So according to the lawsuit, O'Marcaid says that she had been working as a steward, providing food and drinks on that yacht for a 12-hour period, and she was 25 years old at the time. She believed that the trip would be a, quote, wholesome family excursion, but says it, quote, turned into a hedonistic environment, even describing rampant drug use among sex workers and celebrities who came on board. She believes that the alcohol on the yacht had been laced with drugs because she says women would have one drink and then almost immediately pass out or start falling over. This is, by the way, something that it was also alleged in Jones's lawsuit, that Combs would spike the drinks of different people. But focusing on Christian Combs, O'Marcaid says that Christian Combs had been staying at a villa on the shore, but that he would come onto the yacht in the evening to party. And on December 28, 2022, Christian reportedly arrived very intoxicated and then proceeded to pressure O'Marcaid to take shots of tequila. She did. Christian allegedly tried to get her to drink more in the yacht's makeshift studio. O'Marcaid alleges that Christian kissed her neck, kissed her face, as he groped her legs, breasts, and private areas. O'Marcaid reportedly told Christian, quote, "Excuse me, you don't touch my legs like that. I'll move my legs where I want to. If I want to do this, then I will. You don't touch my legs like that." O'Marcaid then says that she told Christian she couldn't stay with him unless it was approved by a supervisor, all of whom she knew would be asleep at the time, so this was a way for her to get out of the situation. She claims that Christian said, "Who can I talk to? I'm going to say I requested you right now." O'Marcaid then says she responded with, quote, "Well, you can take your hand off my ass for the first thing." O'Marcaid says that she tried to go back to her work, but Christian found her again, wanted her to find him a place to sleep for the night. So she ended up taking him to the cinema room for the yacht, which doubled as a place for people to sleep. And she claims that is when Christian blocked her and groped her, took off his clothes, tried to force her to perform oral sex on him. She says that she was able to fight him off until someone...
Former music producer Lil Rod has implicated Diddy's son, Justin Dyer Combs, in connection to Diddy's notorious freak-offs in a shocking lawsuit. Lil Rod named Justin as a co-conspirator, providing photos allegedly showing Justin at one of the parties. According to the lawsuit, Justin was a regular attendee and played a role in sourcing underage girls for his father. Lil Rod criticized Justin's involvement, calling it unimaginable to help a parent exploit others. He alleged that Diddy's entire family is complicit, predicting more revelations about those close to him.
The pattern throughout all these lawsuits is eerily similar. Diddy and his team would allegedly drug or spike the drinks of victims before Diddy and sometimes others sexually assaulted them. There are also allegations that Diddy forced these victims to have sex with prostitutes as he touched himself. He called these situations freak-offs, and oftentimes he recorded them. Here's where some of the allegations against his son Justin Combs come in. So all this takes us back to February, when Rodney Jones, also known as the producer Lil Rod, filed civil suit against Diddy. In his lengthy lawsuit, Lil Rod straight name drops Justin Combs, describing him as someone who solicits prostitutes, underage girls, and sex workers. There's actually a picture of Justin Combs with an allegedly underage girl shown in the lawsuit. Now, in this specific instance, Lil Rod alleges at least one underage girl came to Diddy's home for a listening party. A sex worker was also apparently solicited, and a freak-off ensued. As an aside, this is the same night that Lil Rod alleges Diddy forced him to take a laced shot. He started to feel lightheaded and then woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, naked next to a sex worker. It's important to note Justin Combs is listed as a defendant on this case because, according to Lil Rod, he facilitated Diddy's alleged RICO enterprise and at times participated. That civil suit points to more accusations against Justin Combs too, for his involvement in an alleged shooting cover-up. According to court documents, it happened on September 12, 2022, outside Diddy's Chalice Studios. Lil Rod says Diddy, his son Justin, and Justin's friend who went by G were all there when things got heated. Lil Rod says he heard multiple gunshots ring out and later found G on the bathroom floor in the fetal position. Lil Rod says he was bleeding out of his hip and leg area. Lil Rod says he was applying pressure to G's wounds and then asked the crowd to call an ambulance. At that point, both Diddy and Justin Combs disappeared to another part of the studio. Diddy then gave strict instructions to inform the police that he had nothing to do with the shooting. He also forced Mr. Jones to lie to the police by telling them that G was shot standing outside the studio by a drive-by assailant. So that specific allegation involves Diddy's son Justin, but another allegation and entirely separate civil lawsuit involves his other son Christian, or King Combs. Grace Omar K alleges that Christian Combs sexually assaulted her on a yacht in December 2022, and she says it was facilitated.
Courtney Burgess has come forward with alleged sex tapes showing Diddy's sexual assaults and freak-offs, reportedly involving minors. He claims Kim Porter gave him these tapes, along with her memoir, which details Diddy's alleged sex trafficking ring and names key conspirators. The flash drives provided reportedly contain both the tapes and the memoir. Meanwhile, Diddy's sons are allegedly trying to block the memoir's release, seeking to secure any financial benefits that could arise if it gets published.
According to a report from the Daily Mail, that's why Diddy had a breakdown. A person close to him apparently said, quote, "Spending the holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him." If we're to believe all this, Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused. This same friend or person told the Daily Mail, quote, "He eventually managed to calm himself down with the meditation technique he's been using while he's been behind bars. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and focusing to get out of the bad space he was in, but he finally managed it." This isn't the first time Diddy's mental health has come into question while he's been at MDC. When he first arrived, he was on suicide watch, which the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Corrections describes as supervisory precautions taken for suicidal inmates that require frequent observation. Diddy's suicide watch was only temporary, though. He was housed in a special protective unit of the jail after that for the first few weeks of his stay. But Diddy right now is in Gen Pop, meaning general population, the place where majority of the inmates stay. And that's where he apparently had this.
Diddy's legal team has admitted the existence of the so-called freak-offs, but insists the tapes don't show anything non-consensual. Interestingly, they haven't reviewed the tapes yet and appear to be bluffing, claiming all participants were either adults or unrelated to Diddy. Reports suggest Diddy strategically filmed celebrities in compromising situations, but the FBI still needs to decrypt many of these tapes. Two high-profile individuals linked to Diddy are named in lawsuits and facing criminal charges. Jennifer Lopez has been named as a material witness in a case where the victim alleges Diddy raped him and later showed J-Lo the assault footage. The victim claims J-Lo knew about the assault but failed to report it, instead helping Diddy conceal the crime. These allegations, if proven, could have serious implications for all involved.
Going back to Cardella Smith's filing, his notice says that Jennifer Lynn Lopez, aka J-Lo, aka Jenny from the Block, quote, will be called as a material witness and expert to Sean Combs' viewing, possession, and distribution of his sexual assault upon the plaintiff in 1997 and the orders of defendant Sean Combs forcing Jennifer Lopez to remain silent about the videotaped sexual assault of plaintiff by defendant. Plaintiff states that the material witness Jennifer Lynn Lopez, also known as J-Lo and Jenny from the Block, was engaged in a relationship with the defendant Sean Combs during 1999 and 2001, and that the sexual assault of the plaintiff was recorded, distributed, and held by the defendant at his New York residence and recording studio. And during the relationship with Jennifer Lopez, she was made privy to this video that was taken by Sean Combs and his employee Kirk Burrows. She, J-Lo, has known this video existed and was in existence and took no action to make it known to anyone in law enforcement, and that she was even questioned by New York Police Detective Derek Palmer about this matter, and that the report will show that her answers to this tape was and still remains a resounding yes to its existence. And again, Cardella Smith writes that he wants to call Officer Derek Palmer as a witness because he says Palmer is the one who questioned Lopez and believes that he will have testimony that could help his case. As I mentioned, Diddy's legal team has called for this entire case to be thrown out. Cardella Smith has filed a massive response to that request that totaled more than 200 pages. Probably half of it was just straight up copies of case law that seems to support his arguments, word for word. It's something of like a legal textbook. There's so much to slog through, but I kind of want to give you some of the highlights. So first, in addition to the claims of rape and a cover-up, Cardella Smith also claims and alleges that Combs was violent towards his loved ones. At times, Cardella Smith addresses alleged threats against his family. Other times, he says Combs actually caused serious injuries to his brother. His response reads, defendant used threats of murder to force the plaintiff to not bring the case to any court of law enforcement until the homes of the defendant were raided by Homeland Security, that the plaintiff knew it was a safe time to bring the case, and that is why we are here at this juncture. And Cardella Smith argued that fear for his own safety and the safety of his family is one of the main reasons that he waited so long to report the alleged rape, and says that that reason alone should override any issue with the statute of limitations, that these claims might otherwise be time barred. And he also argues that while he's been in prison, fellow inmates and prison guards have threatened him on behalf of
Jay-Z is now entangled in legal trouble connected to Diddy, with his legal team facing allegations of witness bribery. Reports claim Jay-Z's lawyers posed as FBI agents, complete with fake badges, visiting witnesses' homes. Witnesses reportedly have recordings of the lawyers impersonating law enforcement while allegedly offering $10,000 to provide false statements in Jay-Z's favor. These accusations, if substantiated, could lead to severe legal consequences.
Throwing shots at Busby, calling him a deplorable human, saying the Texas attorney has no honor or dignity, and he's just an ambulance chaser in a cheap suit. Meanwhile, Busby responded saying Jay-Z was bullying and harassing him and the plaintiff in that case, while maintaining he'd let the matter settle itself in court. But now in a new lawsuit, a Texas man is claiming Jay-Z's lawyers are bribing people to sue Busby and his law firm. This 13-page lawsuit was filed on January 3rd in Harris County, Texas, and the plaintiff in the filing is being represented by none other than Busby's law firm, who filed the suit on his behalf. Now, Jose Maldonado, who is the plaintiff in this suit, is suing Jay-Z's attorneys and his company Rock Nation, but not Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z himself. According to the lawsuit, the defendants in this suit are Marcy Bryan Croft, her law firm MJ Legal, Rock Nation, and the law firm who is representing Jay-Z, Quinn Emanuel Urquhart and Sullivan. They allege the defendants conspired to obstruct justice by engaging in shadowy operatives to illegally get more than 24 current and former clients of Busby law firm to turn around and sue them. The suit claims Rock Nation is financing this alleged effort, while attorneys Marcy Croft and the law firm Quinn Emanuel are orchestrating this whole thing. According to the suit, the defendants' agents were pretending to work for the state of Texas and allegedly flashed big badges, which the suit says wasn't very smart or careful, but also illegal. The suit states the defendant's agents offered as much as 10 grand to a former client to sue the Busby law firm, but the so-called agents were allegedly caught on audio tape red-handed. The suit claims attorney Marcy Croft, who is a lawyer but also a member of Team Rock, was orchestrating that whole effort. Then in another recording, those agents were describing in great detail the alleged criminal conspiracy. The suit claims they went so far to admit the lawsuits would be reported in the press, and some former clients already accepted money to join that alleged effort. As I mentioned, Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z, isn't named as a defendant in the lawsuit. However, the suit claims Roc Nation and Jay-Z are synonymous, given the mogul is the founder and chairman. The lawsuit acknowledges Busby's law firm filed the rape lawsuit against Jay-Z in New York federal court, and as a result, Jay-Z sued Busby's law firm in Los Angeles state court. But the suit claims while all of that legal back and forth was going on, Jay-Z's attorneys who represent himself and his Roc Nation denied in open court and in the press their involvement in the alleged scheme. Back to Maldonado's claims. He claims the defendants used him as a pawn. He alleges on behalf of Marcy Croft 2 people attempted to contact him many times and went so far as to go to what they believed to be Maldonado's home. Instead, they went to his dad's house and allegedly identified themselves as federal officers. After realizing they were at the wrong home, they continued to contact Maldonado, and Maldonado claims they were pushy. Once they got in touch with him, he claims those individuals said they were with the state, and they were putting together a lawsuit on behalf of Marcy Croft and the company she worked for. The suit alleges Croft said she would assign Maldonado's case to someone who could get him a lot of money. Instead, Maldonado contacted the Busby law firm, and now they're suing for solicitation and civil conspiracy. In a statement to the Houston Chronicle, Busby said, quote, "The conduct alleged by Mr. Maldonado is illegal and unethical. We know investigators have gone all over the United States illegally contacting our former clients to try to entice them with money to sue our firm. According to Mr. Maldonado, we now know who is behind this effort. We won't be intimidated nor deterred in our important work. I expect more lawsuits will follow as we continue to hear former clients report this egregious conduct," end quote. But Marcy Croft fired back against the allegations, saying the lawsuit reeks of desperation. She also told the Houston Chronicle, quote, "For over 25 years, I've dedicated my career to exposing and dismantling networks of fraud and manipulation. I didn't ask to be a part of this fight, but now that he's dragged me into it, he should know that I'm not someone who backs down. Mr. Busby should be worried. Truth and justice are on my side, and I have every intention of holding him."
Diddy's situation has worsened, with his family no longer attending his bail hearings. Only his sons, Christian and Justin Combs, both facing lawsuits, continue to support him. Friends, family, and former associates have distanced themselves. Allegedly, Diddy had a mental breakdown on Christmas, pleading to be released while breaking down in tears.
We're waiting to get this hearing started. It was interesting too because this time around, Diddy was brought in first. He was brought in about a couple minutes after 2 p.m. today, and we were all kind of waiting to see. We had heard mumblings that his mom might be in courtroom, that we were waiting for the children, but then nothing happened. But then, in another twist and turn, the children do walk in, but this time it was a lot smaller bunch than it was the last time. So last time you're having all of Diddy's children except with the exception of Love, who is just a 2-year-old child, so she wasn't at court, but you had all of Diddy's children there except Love. But this time around you just had Justin Combs and Christian Combs, meaning that there was no Quincy there today. Delilah and Jesse weren't there, Chance wasn't there, and the caretakers of his younger children who aren't of age just yet, they were not present inside the courtroom as well today. But his mom also wasn't in court today. So when Diddy came inside, it was still that standard issued MDC jumpsuit. He's wearing khaki. From that video of, I think that was obtained by Daily Mail back in September, of Diddy playing hacky sack in Central Park, to now he appeared just astonishingly thinner, which you can expect to be inside a federal detention center for a couple months now. A lot different from the luxury lifestyle that he was living before, but he appeared very noticeably thinner, and maybe being locked up in detention is starting to wear on him. He appeared grayer a little bit as well too, but again, he appeared just like how you would expect Diddy to appear.
Courtney Burgess has been subpoenaed to testify before a grand jury after his tapes were presented. He is expected to reveal how he obtained the tapes and Kim Porter's efforts to expose Diddy before her suspicious death. Following Kim's death, her phone and laptop went missing, sparking rumors that Diddy took her laptop to hide evidence. Interestingly, Kim had already entrusted 8 of Diddy's freak-off tapes to Courtney, anticipating what Diddy might do to silence her. These revelations could have significant legal repercussions.
Statements include descriptions of what the witness says he saw on those tapes. So I asked him about that, and he answered what he could, given the limitations imposed on him after testifying before the grand jury. Out of those 8 videos, 8 celebrities, 6 men and 2 women, how many of those 8 celebrities were close to being underage or potentially underage?
2 males.
2 males. And of those 8 celebrities, how many of them were intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
This is going to be all speculation. I just want to preface it by he wouldn't know if
Appeared
they
to be.
were. Right.
Sure.
Appeared to
Let
be.
me rephrase
right.
it.
Based on, yes.
Understand. Out of the 8 celebrities who were recorded having intimate relations with Sean Combs, how many of them appeared to be either inebriated or intoxicated or under the influence
All
drugs?
of them. All of them.
Out of those 8, how many appear to be potentially victimized? How many might have been victimizing?
I think all, to be honest, all.
Were victims
They
or
victims.
were perpetrating?
Victims.
They were all 8 were victimized,
Yeah.
meaning
Victims.
this was happening to them and they were inebriated.
Right. Not knowing, I guess, how much proof it was in it, what they was doing.
Is your client fearful if Diddy does get out?
As you know, I represent other clients, actual victims who have sued Mr. Combs, Diddy, in civil court, and all of them are very apprehensive about their safety if he were to be granted bond. I am confident in the court. I am sure that the court will remain with their previous decision of no bond. I feel like the judge only gave this let me think about it just to not make it as obvious. But I have all the confidence in the world and the federal court and the state of New York that they will remain keeping Diddy under no bond and that all of the victims in this case will be able to proceed sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I mean, you don't just represent this man, you represent other alleged victims too, and people involved. Have there been any threats made against any of your clients?
There have been threats from people on the internet, but not from, at least what we don't know, from Diddy to be directly. So my clients have, Mr. Burgess has received several death threats. My client, Mrs. Parham, has been receiving threats, but we don't know if they're just regular people from the internet or if they're actually people who were sent by Diddy.
Do you have any idea where the threats are coming from? I mean, have you done any investigation?
Well, most of the investigation leads us to a lot of burner accounts on Instagram, and we're trying to now sift through possibly working with law enforcement to try to get subpoenas to determine the IP addresses of where those threats were emanating.
So, okay, interesting. We know that the cease and desist letter has now come. Has there been any other pressure of any kind that you or your clients have felt to stop talking?
In general, I feel that the gag order, when we talk about that, Mark Agnifilio wrote about me specifically, and also all of the other plaintiffs in the civil lawsuits to try to have all of us gagged. There's pressure every day that is continuing to talk about this is putting not only our lives in jeopardy, but could be potentially used against us in a gag.
Diddy has evaded law enforcement for years due to his powerful connections. He was close friends with New York Mayor Eric Adams, who awarded him the key to the city just weeks before raids on Diddy's mansion. Despite knowing about lawsuits against Diddy, Adams complied, allegedly because Diddy had compromising information on him.
The people who are his celebrity friends is going to speak or say nothing until they're either contacted or they know what they really got.
So you feel like they might be worried that they might be on tape at one of Diddy parties doing something they wasn't supposed to be doing?
I think that the celebrities that may be worried is because what Lil Rob said. Lil Rob said in his affidavit that Diddy had every room taped and bugged. Diddy had, Can you imagine? He had every room taped and bugged, and they found little bugs and little tape recorders. I mean, little those micro projectors or whatever like that, or video cameras. They found them in the house, bro. So by them having those things in the house, and people know there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's loose women, there's loose men, woman on woman, man on man, all kind of crazy shit. Bruh, they just wondering who or when they're gonna let this stuff be known. If it's on videotape.
Yeah, man. I know they gotta be shook, man, after finding out he was recording everything.
But not only celebrities, I don't think it's only celebrities gonna be shook. He had politicians in there. He had princes in there. He also had a couple of preachers in there. Hallelujah. That's crazy.
The web of allegations surrounding Diddy, his sons, and their possible involvement in Kim Porter's death continues to grow darker with each revelation. Lawsuits, incriminating tapes, and witnesses are emerging. But with Diddy's powerful connections and deep pockets, the question remains, will justice prevail, or will the wealthy and influential once again escape accountability?